Diddy claimed that somebody held a knife to his throat. He woke up and this guy basically had him and he had the knife, and Diddy was at this person's mercy. Now, it's unclear what exactly happened from there. Was there a guard that came in? Did Diddy somehow fight this person off? Well, it seems unlikely that happened. Or did the person just leave? Bottom line, this guy, at least according to people close to Diddy and Diddy himself, could have hurt him badly or even taken his life.
Right now, while most people think Sean Diddy Combs is locked down and neutralized, insiders say the danger around him is actually escalating. On paper, he is just another federal inmate, a 55-year-old music mogul sentenced in October 2025 to 50 months for 2 counts of transportation to engage in paid encounters under the Mann Act, with a projected release now pushed from May 8, 2028 to June 4, 2028. But we keep seeing the same pattern: witnesses backing away, insiders suddenly going quiet, and those who keep talking, like Jaguar Wright, facing what they describe as real-time intimidation. The message they say is coming from behind those prison walls is simple. Diddy might be in a cell, but his reach is not.
Prosecutors, on the other hand, said Diddy was not sorry and that his apology was phony and that there was some serious harm done to the victims of this case. Like you said, they wanted a sentence of at least 11 years. Ultimately, we know a sentence has now been shared with the court of 4 years behind bars for sure.
We can track the timeline. His high-profile federal trial ran through May, June, and July 2025, ending with a split verdict: acquittals on racketeering conspiracy and 2 trafficking counts, but guilty on 2 transportation for paid encounters charges tied to Cassie Ventura and a second accuser known as Jane. October 2025, Judge Arun Subramanian decided 50 months was the right sentence, a number Diddy's team immediately vowed to appeal as excessive. 3 months later, in November, the Federal Bureau of Prisons quietly updated his release date to June 4, 2028, a nearly 1-month delay that came right after reports of rule violations at FCI Fort Dix. Meanwhile, the people who spent the last 5 years exposing his alleged behavior are seeing their interviews pulled, their social feeds locked, or their public statements walk back. Except one. Jaguar Wright has positioned herself as the last woman standing, and she is leaning into that role. On 12 May 2025, she was outside the Daniel Patrick Moynihan United States Courthouse in New York as jury selection began, calling herself an artist, survivor, advocate, and a defender of freedom, and urging jurors to vote your conscience. Then, in a December 25th interview with Real Life Productions on YouTube, she escalated again, alleging that Diddy is living with an HIV diagnosis, and claiming there are at least 20 other undetectable industry figures. She refused to drop those other names, saying she would save them for her own upcoming show. That was not random gossip. That was a calculated shot aimed at the center of his image, right in the middle of a criminal case, and a wave of more than 100 civil lawsuits.
Is he this gangster that behind the scenes is that him? Or is that
Shout out to Wendy Williams.
We can see the contrast. In that same period, ex-associates who once hinted at what they saw at the freak-off hotel nights have pulled their stories, declined new interviews, or disappeared from the conversation. Lawyers for major labels have leaned hard on non-disclosure agreements. Industry sources talk about calls coming from people who still work with the same executives who promoted Diddy's career in the 1990s. And while Diddy's spokespersons publicly dismiss the jailhouse violation reports as false and reckless, we now have multiple outlets in early November 2025 detailing alleged homemade brew in his first week at Fort Dix and a prohibited 3-way phone call days later. To insiders, that looks less like a man adjusting to prison and more like a man testing how far he can still push. Those prison incidents matter because of what they suggest. According to TMZ on November 7th, officials at Fort Dix allegedly found him with a fermented mix of Fanta, sugar, and apples, a classic improvised brew, and considered moving him to a different unit. The spokesperson quickly denied any rule breaking and insisted that his sobriety and discipline were priorities. Then, on November 10th, CBS News reported a second issue, a 3-way phone call, something the Bureau of Prisons explicitly bars. His team again pushed back, arguing that it was an attorney-initiated, privileged conversation. Around that same week, the Bureau's public database adjusted his outdate to June 4, 2028, without explanation. When insiders line those dots up, they see an inmate who is allegedly bending rules, protecting lines of communication, and somehow keeping his legal and personal machinery moving.
He did a whole lot to a whole lot of people, and now he's paying for it. So all these cats, I guess y'all get y'all visitation rights. Some of y'all can get y'all conjugal visits right with them. I don't give a
This is where the legal and financial structure around him becomes impossible to ignore. Diddy is not just another celebrity defendant. Even after brand deals fell apart and Diageo walked away from the Ciroc partnership, estimates still place his fortune near the $400 million mark. That money does not just buy comfort, it buys strategy. His longtime attorney, Mark Agnifilo, has been more than a courtroom mouthpiece. After the July 2025 verdict, Agnifilo stood outside the courthouse and accused Judge Subramanian of acting like a 13th juror. Behind the scenes, according to legal filings and prison chatter, he has also been engaged with one of the most explosive side cases in Diddy's orbit, a $100 million default judgment won by federal inmate Derek Lee Cardello Smith. Derek Smith is not a household name, but his lawsuit has circulated online for months among court watchers and bloggers. He is an inmate who claimed Diddy owed him $100 million and, when Combs allegedly failed to respond, secured a default judgment. Industry sources familiar with the matter say that while Diddy was fighting for his freedom in New York, his team, including Agnifilo, was quietly trying to unwind that judgment behind bars. That alone would raise eyebrows. But then we hear about an alias jail visit to Smith by someone allegedly connected to Diddy, and about calls that seem to blend legal discussions with pressure. None of this has been fully aired in open court yet, but the outlines are there. An inmate who beat Diddy in civil court, a powerful defense lawyer acting as both shield and negotiator, and a client whose physical confinement has not stopped his side from trying to neutralize a 9-figure threat.
Continued to engage in all these freak-offs with him, and he sounds really pissed off.
Hey, I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to give you a heads up that I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me? I'm not going to be playing these games with you at all, at all. So I don't know, you think you silent treating me, and you think I'm going to be, nah. You'll have a rude awakening.
When we zoom out, the larger system comes into focus. The July 2025 acquittal on racketeering conspiracy spared Diddy a potential life sentence, but the way prosecutors framed the case lingers. They described a criminal enterprise of staff and associates, a network setting up multi-day intimate marathons with male companions, managing travel for Ventura and Jane between 2009 and 2018, and later between 2021 and 2024, and helping hide recordings allegedly used as leverage. The jury did not buy the enterprise theory under RICO, yet they still convicted on 2 Mann Act counts, acknowledging that he knowingly moved women and male companions across borders for commercial intimate encounters. Add in more than 100 pending or planned lawsuits, many represented by Texas lawyer Tony Busby, and alleging coercive encounters, substance use, and leverage over careers. And we are not looking at a one-off scandal. We are looking at a pattern that spans 3 decades and touches labels, promoters, and media platforms. That pattern feeds directly into another looming battle. Who gets to tell this story, and who gets paid for it? Publishing executives and entertainment lawyers have whispered for months about a possible Diddy memoir or tell-all project, something that could rewrite his narrative and monetize his downfall. But in several states, so-called Son of Sam laws restrict people from profiting off content tied directly to their crimes. If Diddy were to authorize a book or docuseries built around the Mann Act convictions, victims' lawyers could move to seize the proceeds. Insiders say that is one reason his legal team is carefully framing public statements around remorse and losing his way, instead of detailing the logistics of those freak-off nights. Every word on paper becomes potential evidence in civil court, or ammunition for a Son of Sam challenge.
Operates. He has people followed, he has people watched, he does all kinds of he's a
While all of that plays out, Jaguar Wright is trying to connect these moving parts in real time, often from a sidewalk, a podcast studio, or a handheld live stream. She has talked about witnessing the dark side of industry parties since the late 1990s, about watching Diddy go from ambitious executive to what she calls a victim-making machine. She has drawn lines between him and other disgraced power brokers like Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein, and even claimed Jay-Z acted as a connector between some of these men. In the Real Life Productions interview on December 25th, she suggested that Diddy's career was designed by executives like Clive Davis and Lucian Grange, implying a system that rewards those willing to push boundaries others would not. For viewers, that raises an uncomfortable question. If her stories are even half right, how many people had to look the other way for this long? The answer, if there is one, will not just come from court transcripts. It will come from the people still inside that system. And that is where the fear around Diddy's current power really shows. Industry sources say that since his September 2024 arrest and pretrial detention at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, some former employcensors have received quiet outreach from law firms they had never dealt with before. Others allegedly got calls reminding them of old NDA agreements, or hinting that future opportunities in music, television, or streaming could dry up if they stir the pot. At the same time, we see Diddy in a new mugshot from early November 2025, gray hair visible, booked into Fort Dix, and headlines about him working in the Chapel Library and entering a treatment program. On the surface, that looks like a fallen icon humbling himself. Behind it, the negotiations continue.
Bankman-Fried were in the unit that was one floor above mine. So in terms of like the setting, it's a fairly decent chance that the room I'm describing is similar to where Diddy is. Yeah.
And through all of this, Jaguar Wright keeps talking. She stands outside courthouses on May 12th, telling jurors, don't forget that these are real victims. She tells Piers Morgan on October 3rd that Diddy is one of the most dangerous people she has ever met. In interviews, she claims she has gone to his parties, not just to enjoy the scene, but to rescue vulnerable people, and asks bluntly who in this business is supposed to protect them when HR departments answer to the same executives who sign the artists. The more she talks, the more she becomes both a symbol and a target. Insiders claim she has been warned privately to back off. She insists she will not. And that leaves us with a chilling equation. If Diddy's lawyers are still negotiating with his victims, his inmates are still taking orders, and his whistleblowers are still in danger, what does that say about who is really in control? That is exactly where Jaguar Wright wants us to look next. Not just at one man in a cell, but at the network she says kept him untouchable for nearly 30 years. In her interviews and sidewalk speeches, she keeps naming the same pillars of the business: Jay-Z, Usher, Clive Davis, Lucian Grange, not as co-defendants, but as part of the machine that elevated Diddy, protected him, and, in her view, looked away until federal agents and dozens of lawsuits made that impossible. She has linked him verbally to the same ecosystem that produced Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein, suggesting that what happened in those hotel freak-off marathons and behind those velvet ropes was never just about one producer's private behavior. It was about how the whole entertainment structure was designed to reward it and hide it.
It's disgusting. Honestly, I've been grieving for the world. Because the whole world is for people to have the attitude that they have right now about the stuff that's going on, the stuff that they're seeing.
When we go back to her December 25th Real Life Productions interview, the HIV allegation suddenly looks like more than a personal swipe. She did not just claim that Diddy is allegedly living with HIV. She talked about many dudes running around undetectable and hinted she could name at least 20 others in the industry. She held those names back, saying she would save them for her own show. For insiders, that sounds like a list that can be weaponized. Whether or not her allegation about Diddy's health is accurate, the belief that he or his team might be holding similar secrets on other A-listers turns into potential leverage. If executives think he has proof of their private medical status or their participation in those marathon nights, that belief alone can keep phones quiet and potential witnesses on the sidelines. That idea of information as leverage is a constant theme in the formal case, too. At trial, prosecutors said he filmed intimate encounters with Cassie Ventura and Jane, and that those recordings could be used as pressure points if anyone thought about walking away. In her Piers Morgan appearance on October 3rd, Wright leaned into that narrative, calling him one of the most dangerous people she has ever met, and describing him as a victim-making machine. She also claimed he holds evidence on his accomplices, and warned that anyone who thinks he will stay silent is crazy. When we connect those claims to what we already know about the Mann Act convictions and the archive of footage mentioned in court, it is not hard to see how rumors about HIV status, hidden videos, and old NDA agreements all blend into a single, ugly kind of currency.
How many people came through his orbit? How many people could this have happened to? And how did he get away with it for so long?
The same currency is driving what looks like a full-scale financial war over his empire. Estimates still place Diddy's wealth in the hundreds of millions of dollars, even after brand damage, frozen partnerships, and mounting legal costs. Social media posts and gossip outlets in mid-November 2025 are now alleging that his 7 children have quietly hired lawyers to secure control of that roughly $400 million portfolio, pushing to sideline his 85-year-old mother, Janice, who has long been presented as the emotional center of his life. One viral breakdown claims they are exploring a family civil action to restructure control of companies and trusts in case the criminal fallout and civil judgments chew through more assets than expected. Janice herself has been stepping into the public record more and more. In letters to Judge Arun Subramanian ahead of the October 3rd sentencing, and in statements shared via major outlets in late 2024 and 2025, she called the accusations heartbreaking and described the separation from her son during his pretrial detention as excruciatingly difficult. she acknowledged that he has made terrible mistakes, but insisted that does not make him the monster some portray. In one letter mentioned by business media in September 2025, she even pleaded to spend the last few years of her life with him as she approached her 85th birthday. Wright, however, has gone further, hinting in her commentary that Janice might not even be his biological parent, a claim that has not been supported by documents, but adds fuel to the narrative of a family structure more complicated than the polished public image suggests.
Well, I mean, inmates have procedures all the time. I mean, you have folks there with cancer, you have folks there with, serious other chronic diseases. And sometimes it does require individuals to have surgery even while they're on pretrial status. So,
against that, we have the Derek Lee Cardelo Smith saga, which shows how volatile the financial front really is. In early September 2024, a Michigan judge granted Smith, a state inmate, a default judgment of $100 million after Diddy allegedly failed to appear for a hearing in his civil case. The order reportedly required payments of $10 million a month starting in October. Within days, Diddy's lawyers moved to vacate the judgment, arguing he had never been properly served and calling the complaint objectively unbelievable. By mid-September 2024, another hearing ended with the judge lifting a restraining order on his assets and signaling that the default might not stand. And by mid-September 2024, entertainment outlets were reporting that he was no longer obligated to pay the $100 million, at least for the moment. Still, for a brief window, a single incarcerated accuser had a paper claim on nearly a quarter of Diddy's reported wealth. Industry observers say that behind each of these courtroom swings are hours of negotiation, and that lawyers like Mark Anufilo and others are not just defending the criminal case, they are triaging an entire financial ecosystem. Every lawsuit settled quietly, every judgment vacated, every restraining order lifted, is another brick back in place in a wall designed to keep control of that $400 million empire within a tight circle. When we place that beside gossip about his own children allegedly lawyering up, we start to see why Wright frames this as a struggle over narrative control as much as over cash. If the heirs are allegedly battling Janice, if civil plaintiffs are fighting over slices of potential future earnings, then what chance does an outsider like Jaguar Wright have when she is trying to crash through all of that just with a microphone and a memory?
Speaking about all that. So now, if he's doing that, and the judge is saying all of the stuff that he did that was wrong, what else? Having security take people, put them up in abandoned buildings and threaten them. The judge had all that information.
The contradictions get sharper when we look again at how the criminal case actually landed. Diddy walked away from the racketeering conspiracy charge because prosecutors could not prove that his staff knowingly formed a criminal enterprise with him, even though they argued he used employees and associates to set up those multi-day intimate gatherings, secure travel, and conceal recordings. The jury seemed unconvinced that there was an organized structure equivalent to a mob operation. Yet the post-verdict landscape looks like something else entirely. A web of attorneys doing back-channel deals, private investigators tracking accusers, and, if we believe Wright's framing, powerful executives at labels and streaming platforms still acting as informal gatekeepers for who gets to speak and who does not. Inside Fort Dix, we hear a very different story being pushed. Former inmates and secondhand accounts have described Diddy enrolling in the residential substance treatment program, teaching informal business classes to other prisoners, and even helping ease tensions between rival groups during recreation periods. One ex-inmate told a magazine that, for a couple of hours in the yard, there were no fights, no gangs, just people focused on the lessons about branding and entrepreneurship, and described him as humbled by the experience. That image of a chastened mogul, trading designer suits for khakis and a white tee while giving motivational talks near the chapel library, is the one his supporters want on the record.
He sort of talked to me about the schedule for the day. He explained the important rules. He explained count time, because they have to, look, the jail's main two things, they can't lose you and they can't you. So they have to, count you, and they count you twice a day. Actually, 3 times a day.
You go to your bunk?
Yeah, you go to your bunk. At night, they'll come, you can be laying down. And in the morning, you can be laying down, but once a day, twice a day.
But then, we put that image next to the reports of contraband brew made from Fanta, sugar, and apples in his first week, and the alleged 3-way legal call that violated Bureau of Prisons policy just days before his transfer. Prison documents cited by CBS News say he claimed he had not yet gotten the orientation handbook and did not know conference calls were forbidden. His spokesperson insisted the call was protected attorney-client communication. Wright's answer to that is blunt. In her commentary, she has said, in essence, that a truly humbled man would not need an alias to reach another inmate like Derek Smith. would not be anywhere near improvised intoxicants, and would not risk extra discipline just to keep multiple lines open from one institutional phone. From her perspective, this is not humility, it is a long game. That long game, if we accept the way she maps it, stretches far beyond his sentence window. Legal analysts have already noted that, with the right combination of good time credit and successful completion of the Fort Dix substance program, Diddy could trim months off his 50-month term and be back on supervised release earlier than June 2028. At the same time, more than 100 civil plaintiffs are lining up, new filings are dropping in multiple jurisdictions, and publishing insiders keep whispering about a potential memoir or confession-style project that could try to spin his story before others cement theirs. If Son of Sam laws or restitution orders attach to any future book or streaming deal, that would send even more of his future earnings into the hands of accusers or family members. Every move his lawyers make today shapes who will be cashing checks years after the gates open.
I'm not sure. I don't buy for a minute that he's going to prison without getting out of here somewhere and stashing $2 billion or whatever. I think he has that kind of power, meaning Sean himself. But remember, it goes a lot deeper than that.
So as we watch Diddy sit in a low-security New Jersey facility, teaching business basics to men serving time, we have to ask what story is really being written. Is this the beginning of a redemption arc, carefully curated by PR teams and crisis managers, rallied around his frail mother's letters and his promises that he lost his way? Or is it just a pause in a larger operation that still has lawyers negotiating with inmates like Derek Smith, relatives allegedly fighting over millions, and whistleblowers like Jaguar Wright doubling down even as the threats get louder? Diddy is in prison, but his empire is not. His attorneys are still moving, his money is still in play, and the people exposing him still say they are looking over their shoulders. So tell us in the comments, in this story, who do you think is really locked up, and who is still pulling the strings from the shadows? Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and we will see you in the next deep dive.